Hello, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Matt Gets It podcast. This is a sports debate show discussing the biggest sports topics. I'm your host, Matt Martinez, and back today, I should say, is Billy Ryan, who is back stateside after spending some extensive time in Europe. Billy, how you doing? How was your trip?
Great trip. Europe, especially Eastern Europe, is too much fun. Love to go back someday, and I think it's sometime in my cards. But no, I'm glad to be back stateside and got a lot of interesting stuff on the docket.
Yeah, for sure. For the folks listening, there was this brief discussions. It was kind of more joking. We were trying to maybe get Billy reporting live from, Stockholm or wherever he was at, France, Prague, somewhere around there, but couldn't get you know, get that worked out and situated. That would be funny though, Billy. You at 3 a.m. in the streets over there, or in your hotel or something.
Oh yeah, the 8 or 9 hour time difference. Still trying to get back and fight off his jet lag. I got back Sunday at like 10 p.m. So I'm on day two and still feeling a little bit, but no, it would have been sweet, dude. Trying to figure out, like I said, I was trying to pull up to a Bayern Munich game or a FC Sparta out in Prague. Paris Saint Germain played while I was out there. They had a big playoff game against. I'm going to butcher that, so I'm not actually going to say who. But yeah, but we're out there. We were out there.
Yeah, man. But great to have you back. Glad to be back doing the pod. We got a great pod for you today, folks. A lot of great topics to discuss, such as the latest from the MLB regular season. We got more NFL offseason news, a recap of UFC 315, a recap of the 2025 NBA draft lottery. Great topic there, folks. Stay tuned for that. And plus an update from the ongoing NBA playoffs. First things first, Billy, a brief recap of the 2025 NBA Draft Lottery and the results, order-wise for the picks. Uh, Out of nowhere, out of left field, somehow, some way, after having just a 1.8% chance, the Dallas Mavericks will have the first pick in this year's draft. And this could not have come at a better time for the Mavericks as an organization. They are just months removed from being involved in one of the biggest, if not the biggest trades in recent NBA history when they shipped out Luka Doncic to LA in exchange for Anthony Davis and I believe a pick. But Billy, the Mavs get the one pick. What is going on? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that here in a minute. Uh, Stay tuned. I know you're very eager to discuss it, but just bear with me for a minute, all right? The second pick belongs to the San Antonio Spurs, who have a plethora of young talent, most notably former number one pick Victor Wembanyama. So the Spurs get a top three pick. They're at number two, possibly to add to Victor and the core that they have with De'Aaron Fox. They just traded for him during the regular season, excuse me. And but maybe the Bucks trade that pick. I mean, excuse me, the Spurs trade that pick to the Bucks. There's a little rumor going around that maybe Giannis is available. Uh, who knows what goes on in San Antonio? Do they keep the pick? We'll see. But they are at the number two slot. Picking third will be the Philadelphia 76ers. Are we still trusting the process, folks? It's another top pick. What are they gonna do? There's always health concerns when it comes to Philadelphia and their roster, but alas, they are the third pick in the draft. The fourth pick went to the Charlotte Hornets, who have yet again, just like the Sixers, have another top five pick, another high first round draft pick. Uh, what will Charlotte do? Will they add to that front court with Brandon Miller and they kept Mark Williams in that failed trade to the Lakers. Do they try to add a backcourt piece with LaMelo? We'll see there. And the fifth pick belongs to the Utah Jazz, who had the worst record in the league, folks, at 17-65 overall. And they somehow did not get a top three pick. They are at number five. Billy, your thoughts on how the top five shaked out? draft order wise, I know you have some questions, right? Concerns and thoughts, to say the least.
Definitely. Before I get into it too deep, too
Hmm.
deep, we'll start off. But I don't know, the NBA draft lottery system is unique for sure, and you got to love the fact that it prevents teams
Hmm.
tanking near the end of the season to try to just get a 1 or a 2 pick. I do appreciate that. I really do. It can ruin sports. I think that was the reason why we were seeing super teams going off for some portion of time, starting with the Warriors and Miami and all that stuff that was going on. So I do think it's just weird. I think they need to modify it a touch, maybe with some of these middle ground teams. Like the 1 or 2, like between a 1 and 2% chance is pretty wild to get selected,
Hmm.
especially in the Mavericks case. But like looking at it, it's like, hey, if you're like one of the 10th worst teams, you have a 3% chance to get to lock that in. But you jump up 10% if you're a bottom 5 team. You know what I mean? Which is it seems a little weird in my mind. And but kicking it off, it seems like it's a storybook kind of finish to this season for the Mavericks. You couldn't have asked for a better situation. It seems like it's a movie plot at some point where I'm wondering. It's like, hey, is this the NBA pulling strings to make ends meet and make the right people happy who have power, or was this truly a luck? A 1.8% chance is nuts, and this truly saves and helps out the GM for the Mavericks so much. And I'm sure Mark Cuban had to truly take a sigh of relief because you're going to get Cooper Flag, and I think he's the youngest generational talent that we've seen that we're like, wow, this could be maybe a LeBron esque or a Kobe esque, a Carmelo esque guy that comes out. And I have nothing but high hopes for Cooper Flag, and I think he could turn it around. But I guess I'm curious on your thoughts, Matt, on I guess obviously the Dallas stance, but I guess the overall lottery system in itself.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack here with this. So the draft lottery, having the worst record does not guarantee you the number one pick, and that has been proven the last 3 years. I saw a statistic that the last three worst records in the league have not gotten a top three pick the last three drafts. They've each selected fifth. And the same with the Jazz. Then again, the Jazz, worst record in the league, they're picking fifth. So, I mean, the quote unquote tank doesn't necessarily guarantee you a high draft pick. I mean, yeah, they're still in the top 10, that's picking five, depending what your evaluations are of players at that number, available, best player available when it gets to that, to your selection. But it is interesting that the Mavs had such a low percentage of getting that number one pick, especially considering that they just traded away a generational talent in Luka Doncic. And now you're about to get another generational talent. So like, you know what I mean? Like it's hard not to see like or feel skeptical about it. It's like what's going on here? Like,
Yeah.
okay, you just gave up one and now you're getting another. And so it's really hard to fathom what's going on there. But when it comes to the Dallas GM and Nico Harrison, yes, this guy is saying thank you, NBA gods. Or for the conspiracy theorists out there, he's saying thank you, Adam Silver, right? The commissioner, because they're saying that like Silver's like, hey, the theory, the rumor, the joking on social media, if you will, is that Silver was like, hey, yeah, trade Luka to the Lakers and you'll get to the one pick, like guaranteed. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's all speculation, just joking rumors, but uh, Nico Harrison, the GM of the Mavericks, is saying thank you because he has had a rough few months. There was multiple fans at games chanting fire him, fire Nico. He
Fire.
was under a lot of scrutiny considering that the Mavericks didn't really necessarily perform to last year's standards when they got to the NBA finals. You know what I mean? So for him to then Cooper Flag, who is the consensus pick, right? At number one, he's gonna go
Gotta
number
be.
one at Duke. Yeah. Uh, very talented, versatile wing player. Uh, how tall is he, Billy? 6'8", 6'9",
I
6'10",
thought you.
around there.
I thought he was 6'7", but he could be more.
Okay, yeah. So w small forward, right? Shooting guard, perhaps.
Yeah.
But this guy was just previously this past summer at the USA camp for Team USA, and there was clips of him giving buckets to their top players or some of their top defenders, right? So this guy is no slouch by any means of the word. This guy is a prolific talent, and a lot of people thought he was going to go to either DC or Utah, but I mean, it would be foolish of the Mavericks not to select him number one, right?
Truly. And yeah, I just looked it up. He's 6'9", according to Google.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, unreal. I remember I recently been watching clips and stuff of him practicing against Division One college team when he was 13 or 14,
Yeah.
and he was getting buckets. Like at the age of 14, he's playing Division One college basketball and playing at a high level. Like it wasn't
Hmm.
like he was dunking on people. He was out here hitting threes. He was playing perimeter. He was shutting people down. So I think, like I said, I think he's a unanimous one slot for me. I think any team, if the Mavericks don't take him, I think that's where Dallas is going to burn down the city and really
Hmm.
be asking for Nico's head on a platter and moving forward with that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If he does not take flag, or excuse me, folks, or if he, um, I don't know. I mean, again, Giannis, right? Does he trade Giannis if he's available, right? Do you trade for that a top 75 player in Giannis, right? Who's still in his prime, who's still on the underside of 30?
Don't get me wrong, I love Giannis, but like he's been in the league for a minute, a little bit injury prone. Don't get me wrong, he's made it
Hmm.
to the finals or far into a finals many times or a couple times where he's got that experience. But Cooper Flag is, I think he's 19, maybe 20 years old. He's got so much room for improvement, and I think, like I said, I think he could have that LeBron-esque side to him, where he could be carrying a team at the age of 20 years old with a franchise on his back.
Hmm.
I think it's very possible for him. I think Dallas is also a great place to do it. I think you saw the support that Luka was getting, and how crushed people were when he left. I think being that replacement or that guy who can kind of come in. And plus, if you get a healthy Anthony Davis working with a Cooper Flag, like could be disgusting, dude. It could be nasty.
Yeah, that's a great point. And plus, Kyrie will be back at the second half of next season.
I mean, and that's some experience to learn behind right there. You get Kyrie and Cooper Flag.
Another that's two number one picks to learn from. You know,
I think it's
AD, former number one pick, Kyrie, former number one pick.
hey, I think the future is bright if they, obviously, I think they're gonna take him. I think they are. So I think the future could be bright for that. Like you're saying, I forgot about Kyrie even being in the mix there. Like
Hmm.
that could be a big three team. That could be a Golden State team if they play their cards right and stay healthy.
Yeah, because you got some veterans there with Kyrie and AD, and then you got the young talent, right, in Flag. So it's a mixture there if it all works out. That all said, Billy, there is a giant cloud though over this whole situation though, right? Because like it's like again, like is it luck? Because somehow the math is not mathing. 1.8% chance compared to these other teams who were terrible by every metric, win-loss record, point differential, you know what I mean? Like competitive games, clutch games, like these teams still didn't get the one pick, but the Mavs did after everything that just transpired to them in that big trade, right?
Yeah,
Like, Billy, is it crazy to like, because there's a lot of people out there that feel this way, especially on, social media, and whether you that is valid or not, again, social media highly doesn't really matter, right? But again, the sentiment around the NBA world is that somehow this is not just pure coincidence. Like this, something else. Like in other words, something behind the scenes went down.
Right. And I honestly lean towards that side. I lean
Hmm.
towards the conspiracy side of things. I think Mark Cuban paid $1 billion or something like that to get something moving after the trajectory that the Dallas
Hmm.
Mavericks were going. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Though I just know all of Dallas fandom is cheering with the highest level they can. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
you're landing a generational talent. It's probably gonna be Cooper Flag. Uh, it would be insane if that's not the case. But keeping it basketball related, folks, we're gonna move on, but still keeping it on the court. An update on the current second round matchups for the NBA playoffs. In the Eastern Conference, the Cleveland Cavaliers are currently down 3-1 to the Indiana Pacers, and that has been a very interesting series. It has been shocking to an extent, that the Pacers have the Cavs on the ropes there. A lot of pressure is on uh, Donovan Mitchell to get it done, and this seemed like this was going to be their best opportunity. One seed. They were great throughout the regular season, but now in the playoffs, they're dealing with some injuries. Evan Mobley's missed a game. Darius Garland's missed a few games. So Donovan hasn't had his full squad and full dance partners, if you will. Uh, the other series in the Eastern Conference, Billy, the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. The Knicks are up 3 games to 1 on the Celtics, the defending champions. Uh, a lot of people thought Boston was, despite being the 2 seed, was still the top team in the East and probably the top team in the league just because of the depth and their starting five respectively. Uh, a major development did occur though, Billy, late last night in Game 4. Jason Tatum suffered lower leg injury, foot injury. It was then later confirmed that he ruptured his Achilles tendon, which is very unfortunate for Tatum. I have been on the record stating that I am a Jason Tatum hater, but again, folks, that is only on his basketball play. That is not him as a person. I wish him nothing but the best. I wish he full recovery from that injury. No one wants to be injured. No one wants to see that happen, especially in the playoffs. He is a great player. I'm just a Heat fan. Okay. That said, uh, hopefully Tatum recovers quickly. The game of basketball is better when Tatum is out there on the court and producing at a high level. He was balling. He had a 40 piece.
He's
You know
hooping.
what I mean? Yeah,
He's
he
hooping.
was balling. 40 piece got hurt. Very unfortunate. Over in the Western Conference, the top seeded Oklahoma City Thunder, they are locked up 2 games apiece with your Denver Nuggets. We got a great clash going on there. We'll dive a bit further into that here in a bit. The second matchup in the West is the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are up 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors, who are without Steph Curry, who is dealing with a hamstring injury. So the Warriors are not at full strength. Uh, Jimmy, who was brought in to be the Robin, so to speak, is now being promoted to Batman after being there for less than 30 games, so he's having a lot to deal with. Draymond Green is now taking on a bigger load offensively, uh, hitting like three threes a game out of nowhere now. You know
Hey,
what I mean?
somebody's got to be a splash, bro.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Uh, Billy, your thoughts on the NBA playoffs and which series? I know. I guess that's not really a question. That the Thunder Nuggets series, right? That's the series that you're most heavily invested in, correct?
100%. I'm ready for Game 5 tonight.
Yes.
7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yeah, good plug in there.
But no, I think this is a place where the Thunder are going to be under a lot of pressure. Um, I think if you give the Nuggets that extra game to go into a Game 4, I think they're going to be more comfortable. And if I'm correct, I think Game 6 would be in Denver. Correct?
That is correct, yes.
So I think that home advantage, especially that elevation, is going to be a huge advantage. Obviously, Denver shows up for their sports teams. It's going to be a packed house. It's going to be a good environment to play in. With the Thunder, though, I think it is still anybody's game. I think it's a matchup based series. If you can shut down Jokic like they did in Game One, it's going to be a tough team when you have Shea out there playing as he's been. He's him and Chet. They're such a good young good team that they're coming out and they're molding
Hmm.
together well. They're playing well. We've all seen their commercials. I think it's a credit card. I think it's a Capital One commercial where they're all showing up in suits and singing. They're meshing well. They're doing it right. But I think in my mind for that series, it's going to be a lot of pressure on Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. to produce, especially if Jokic is being shut down. But if they're playing well, it's going to open up the 2 or 3 man game where everybody's going to be playing well.
Hmm.
Um, so I like to call the Nuggets out in this game. I think they're going to win it. I think it's going to be Jokic kind of coming in, shutting down, and showing why he maybe should have been the MVP.
Yeah, with Jokic, I don't know, Billy. It kind of seems like he's maybe a little bit tired, or I don't know. Like, I mean, could be he's also the like essentially the player coach, right? He's over there taking full command of timeouts and stuff. He's dictating what's going to happen. But the Thunder are a great team defensively, though, so not to take anything away from them. Uh, with that being said, I think some wild cards for that series, as it's obviously playing out. For the Thunder, it's J-Dub. Williams, he's over there, could erupt, had a big game, bounce back game the other night, and that's another lanky wing player, right guard who could defend, who could do a lot of things. And when you look at the Nuggets, arguably the most clutch player, excuse me, thus far in the playoffs has been Aaron Gordon.
Oh, by far. I mean, he's won us 2 games single handedly in the
Yeah,
playoff with last minute shots and/or the little touch dunk with literally
yeah.
point 0.001 on the clock.
Hmm.
Like he's truly come out and stepped up, and I know he's come out and he's been vocal about like I'm going to do anything I can to get Russell a dub and get him a championship. So the motivation's there, and I think you're right. I think that's a person I didn't hit on enough, or at least I didn't touch on at all. Like Aaron Gordon is a huge piece and soul of that team right now, defensively, but
Hmm.
also coming in hitting clutch threes and being around the board and just being a player that's adapting to the situation. I think that's exactly what the Nuggets need.
Yeah, for sure. And when you look at Aaron Gordon specifically, talk about someone who was more or less brought in to be the face of a franchise when he was drafted by the Magic, right? He was a
Right.
top 5 pick. I believe he was number 4 overall in his draft class, but necessarily didn't pan out there. But as his career progressed and he's been there in Denver, his game has taken uh, a tremendous leap from a shooting standpoint, right? This guy is a viable threat from the perimeter, shooting career high this year in 3-point percentage. And like you were saying, Billy, or we were saying, he's clutch. Like he's hitting clutch shots for the Nuggets. Like, um, so if Aaron Gordon is able to continue having that type of productivity from a scoring standpoint, that benefits the Nuggets tremendously because then that takes off the pressure from Michael Porter, like you were saying, who by your standards, right, are, I mean, if you follow the Nuggets closely, he could be viewed as a streaky scorer, right? Streaky shooter, but he's, also dealt with back injuries, so that contributed some mental health stuff. So, but when he's on, he's on. He's a lethal shooter, but that does take pressure off of him. That takes pressure off of Christian Braun. That was Braun to just be the high energy glue player, right? That he is. Be a spark defensively, get the loose ball possession.
Yep.
Same with Russ, right? Like crash the boards, just get assists. Uh, and then ultimately take stress off Jokic and Murray too. So if Gordon is playing at a high level, that benefits the Nuggets tremendously. And that goes back to what you were saying that the pressure is on the Thunder, right? They're the younger team. The Nuggets are the championship experienced team. If they go up in the series 3-2, and then that game 6 is at home with that elevation, like you're saying, because that does play a factor. Elevation is real, folks.
It's facts. I remember now when we went to school out of state, we had a kind of a hell week or a conditioning week every year, and especially in Alamosa where we were at, we were almost I think we were 78, almost 8,000 feet elevation.
Yeah, 8,000. Brutal, Billy. That I remember it vividly.
I mean, there were kids who were passing out mid run coming from Arizona, New Mexico, around that area, dude. Like they weren't ready. They thought it was gonna be a come in and walk in the park. Couldn't even go a mile.
No, definitely. Didn't pass out. I'll give myself that. Puked, but that's different.
It's
I
different.
digress. But I agree with you there, Billy, that in the Western Conference the pressure is on the Thunder, and then over in the East though, pressure wise, I uh the pressure is on the Cleveland Cavaliers, man, and specifically Donovan Mitchell. I know it's unfair because his teammates have been injured, especially in the second round, and then in Garland's case, even in the first round. But they dismantled my Heat. Absolutely brutal those last two games, games 3 and 4. Shout out to Cleveland. I'll give props when props are due. But Indiana has their number currently. But when it comes to Donovan Mitchell, though, Billy, he is a superstar who has never reached the conference finals. He has never made it out of the second round. He is the best player on the top seed right now in the Eastern Conference, and they are down 3-1. He is under the most pressure.
I you hit that 100% on the head. I think the Cavaliers are in a spot like I want to say at halftime of their last game on game 4, I think they were up 30 or maybe 40.
Uh,
The
uh,
Pacers were.
the Pacers were up on the Cavs, or the Cavs were up on the Heat.
Then because game 4 the Pacers beat the Cavs by like 20. I think it was
Oh, okay, yeah. They were up 41 at halftime.
right.
It was
So
80 to 39.
crazy, crazy. And I just got a score update here at the end of the first quarter for this game. Actually, Pacers 17, Cavaliers 29. Quick update there. So got a good thing rolling. Like obviously they're up right now going into the second quarter. So I think they're starting out strong. A good near almost 15-point lead. They just got another bucket before the quarter ended.
What
So
does Mitchell have? But sorry, Billy. What does Mitchell have?
let me pull it.
Prove me wrong in real time.
In 10 minutes, he's got 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 11 points.
Oh,
He's
I
got
already got 11. He already got 11 points. All right, all right. Shout out you, D. Mitch. Prove me wrong in real time. But the point remains. He has the most pressure, Billy. He has the most
I
to
agree.
prove.
No, they're on the spotlight the most. Like getting beat by 20 points in game 4 and being down
Hmm.
3-1. Are you going to roll over? Or are you going to fight? Because
Yeah,
not too many teams have come back from that 3-1 playoff deficit, especially going into round 2, round 3 of the playoffs. So we'll see.
it's funny that you mentioned that because Darius Garland was, pretty optimistic himself. He was like, "It's been done before, and it's been done in our organization." But it's like, whoa, 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 there, guy. Like, you also had a prime LeBron James on your roster when that occurred, right? Yeah, so like, unless a prime LeBron is miraculously sitting on that bench, we'll see. But you said they're up 12, right? After
Up
the
12.
first? Okay.
Yeah, up 12.
Okay. 27-15, right?
Actually, new update 17:31. No, again, another quick update. 19:31. There's 2 seconds left in the first quarter.
Okay, still 12-point game. But
Yeah.
all right, we'll see if the Cavs extend the series there, push it to a game 6, game 5 currently underway, folks. Uh, Billy, was there anything else NBA playoff wise that maybe we missed, you'd like to bring up? If not, we will move on to some UFC.
Go Nuggets, baby.
All right, perfect. Great way to end it there. with that being said, folks, the results from Montreal, Canada, and UFC 315. Billy, we're gonna talk about the two title fights that occurred, the main event and the co-main event. What is next for each of the respective champions, and uh, ultimately, we had some breaking news, right, Billy? When it comes to the UFC, some big fights that were just announced, and we'll get right into that now, folks. So, in the main event of UFC 315, a new welterweight champion was crowned. Jack Della Maddalena defeated Bilal Muhammad via unanimous decision to win the welterweight championship. All the judges' scorecards were 47-48, 47-48, and 46-49. Uh, JDM is from Australia. He is now 18-2 overall, and he extends his winning streak to 18 fights, Billy. So talk about being on a heater, right? This guy is tearing down opponents at will, and well deserved. He is now, I believe, Australia's third ever UFC champion. He joins Volkanovski and Robert Whitaker.
Yep.
So Billy, your thoughts on that main event fight and JDM?
Yeah, first off, I want to give some props out there to Bilal Muhammad. He was taking some pretty crazy big shots, and he stayed in the fight. He didn't, really go down. I think after the fight, when he went to the hospital, he had a broken nose, a fractured orbital bone, and he had some hairline fractures on other parts of his face, and I think he broke his hand as well.
Hmm.
But absolutely, I think a great dominating performance by Jack. I think everybody watched JDM. He looked comfortable in there. He looked like he was himself. He looked like he deserved that championship fight. Um, with that being said, uh, I think sky's the limit, and it kind of with those updates that we had got going that we'll talk about here in a little bit, kind of throws off some of our talk tracks. But I think like he's a young upcoming guy, and like you were saying, 18 fight win streak. The confidence is there. He's flowing. I'm
Hmm.
looking at his record and says he's 18-2, and I don't know if he started out 0-2 and just absolutely flipped a switch. Um, Entertaining fight to watch. Exciting to see who he's got going and what's next there.
Yeah, so when it comes to JDM, there was a lot of chatter even going into this fight, depending on who was gonna win, who was the next challenger be, and ultimately, folks, it has been decided. Breaking news from Dana White, the boss man, which they call him. Uh, Islam Makhachev, the lightweight champion, has vacated his title bout. He is moving up to welterweight and will more than likely face JDM, right? So that is going to be the next challenge. It was already teased in this post-fight interview. They asked him, and JDM was quoted saying he wants to get it back for his boy Volkanovski. Your boy Volkanovski, right, Billy? So uh, that would be a great fight there. There was already talk of can JDM handle the wrestling of Bilal Muhammad, and Islam is one of the most fearsome wrestlers and grapplers, submission artists in the MMA world currently. So, current pound for pound champion, according to multiple people in I think the ESPN rankings. Whether you think he's that or not, him or John Jones, right? Number one, pound for pound, right? But that's another topic for another day. But that is more than likely the case, folks. JDM's next opponent will be Islam Makhachev, the former lightweight champ, who just vacated his title literally minutes ago. Not no more than 30 minutes ago, Billy. So we'll see what happens there.
Right.
Um, Over in the co-main, Billy, Valentina Shevchenko defeated Manon Fiorot via unanimous decision to retain her flyweight championship. And if I mispronounce Manon's name, I apologize. That French is kind of hard to like certain words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fiorot,
Be,
Fiorot.
being in France, and I'm going to butcher this as well. I want to say it's Fiero. Fiero.
Yeah, Fiero. So uh, Valentina got the job done like she has always done. That is now her 10th victory, Billy, in title fights. Talk about being a dominant champion, correct? Being one of the most established champions, regardless of gender there in the UFC. Valentina the Bullet, tremendous champion athlete in person from all accounts. Don't know her personally, but in all her interviews, she says the right things. Her mentality, right, Billy? Like that chick is a warrior, dude.
Oh my God, absolutely! Like I watched her when she was a coach on one of the newer seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, and truly an inspiring story overall. Like
Yeah. Hmm.
where she is and where she's at now, and like you're saying, absolute dominance from the champion. Like trying to figure out what's next for her is probably the hardest thing on Dana White's mind right now. Like where does she go? Does she jump a weight class? Does she go down a weight class? Like where does that figure out? And I don't know if there's anybody in her division at flyweight that's the next up and coming contender like Manon was.
Hmm.
So I do see, maybe her jumping a weight class or maybe taking on Weili Zhang. I think we talked a little bit about that. Um, we need to almost see the two best champions of those weight classes show up. You know what I mean? I think it's a
Yeah.
fight that people want to see.
Yeah. Valentina's in a weird position, opponent wise, because she's cleared out her own division, obviously, at flyweight. Maybe if Grasso won her fight against Silva, right? Maybe they run that back, which would have been the fourth fight, right?
Yeah, number 4.
Yeah, it would have been a what is it, quadrilogy? But uh, I mean, I don't see her moving up because Pena still has to fight Kayla Harrison, and
Right.
Valentina is 0-2 previously when going up to fight Amanda Nunes. Uh, really, I think the only fight for her is a super fight against Wei Li, but Wei Li would have to go up and fight for Valentina's belt. I don't think Valentina would go down to a lower weight class. Not to say that she doesn't have the capability to cut weight, right? I mean, she's a world class
Oh yeah.
athlete. Like we were saying, her mentality and stuff, she probably could do it. But that's really the only fight that seems to be an option for her, Billy, is Wei Li going up and challenging her super fight, and that would be a tremendous fight, like
Oh man.
from a like technical standpoint, right? From a champion standpoint, two champions fighting each other, and then obviously from a violence standpoint, like this would be.
Yeah, it would be the chef's kiss, and I think that's a good way to kind of you know, icing on the cake for the UFC, as you will, within those women's divisions. They are
Hmm.
obviously the two most dominant in those. I think it's 125, 125. I think those are right.
Flyweight, yes, 125, yeah.
Okay. So
So with the women's, there was previously four divisions. Now there's only back down to three. So it's bantamweight 135, flyweight 125, and then strawweight 115.
right,
And there used to be the 145 pound, but there just wasn't anybody like
right.
enough to fill a roster. So there's only three divisions now. But yeah, that's really more or less the only direction in which the UFC can go from an opponent standpoint for Valentina. But congratulations to her. I believe Billy, she is the first fighter now to complete the little ruby thing there for their belt. So every time you defend the belt, you get a ruby and it gets like added to your belt. So she's the first one with like a full like thing of rubies on her championship belt. So congrats to her. That's pretty sick, honestly.
That's pretty fucking sweet. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
like obviously the title defends is like the biggest thing when it comes to a champion, and I think she breeds the definition of the champion, right?
Hmm.
So I think that's awesome. Honestly, I got me wanting to Google and look what the belt looks like.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty cool. Like, so, well, obviously with the new UFC belt design, right? It kind of has like that. I guess it's an octagon. So she
Right.
has all eight. She has eight rubies now.
Nice. One on each little edge. That's sweet.
Yeah. So she has 10 title fight victories, 8 defenses, and then each time that she's won, I believe. So that gives her the 10 title fights. So congrats to her. Congrats to JDM, like we were saying. Uh, stay tuned for what happens there. Probably big fights for both of them, right, Billy? So that's really the only logical thing for them.
Absolutely, really excited for the JDM fight, especially where Bilal he works out in that Makachev camp a lot. So I'm curious to
Yeah,
see where
exactly.
that was at. It's gonna be
Yeah,
interesting.
so that's what they were saying. Like Bilal's wrestling was so great, like it's even been praised within his own camp. Khabib was saying, cardio and wrestling and all that stuff that Bilal was tremendous in that aspect. And then for JDM to stuff all those takedowns right and not to really give up a lot of control time to Bilal, and he's gonna naturally be the bigger fighter to Islam, right?
Yep.
Islam going up.
Yep.
Uh, what is that weight jump? 30 pounds? No, no, that's only 15, huh? I'm
No,
sorry. I was
it's
thinking I
it's
was
like
thinking middleweight.
it's yeah, it's like 12.5 pounds or something like that.
155 to 170.
I want to say it's
Yeah, sorry. I was thinking middleweight, 185. That's why I said 30-pound jump.
right. Yeah, I was like sitting there. I was like, am I off?
No, I think it's 15, 155 to 170.
Yeah, you're right.
But honestly, Islam's kind of big for the lightweight, like size wise.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it'll probably be a little bit better for Islam at that point. I think he'll be a little bit healthier with a less of a weight cut.
Exactly.
Um, so
But
I'm excited for it. I think that's a great matchup. Obviously,
big time.
Islam's one of the best pound for pound fighters that we got going on. So it's
Hmm.
like I could see him being, maybe, or I could see JDM being a little bit of the underdog, and Islam, kind of coming in with. I'm curious to see what those betting lines are going to look like.
I would assume Islam's the favorite, even though he's going up.
Right. I think he has to be. I think just in terms of title defense and where he's been at. Um,
Exactly.
hey, I'd love
Up
to see
next,
him get one
folks.
back for
Oh,
Volk though.
go ahead,
That's
Billy.
my
Go
bad.
ahead.
That's my bad.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was gonna say would love to see him get one back for Volk though, but that's just me.
Oh yeah, I mean, he said it in the post-fight interview. He was like, he's like, yeah, I'm getting it back from Volk.
Love
Like
that.
confidence, right? Love it. Aussies stick together. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Up next, folks, some NFL information regarding Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. So, four-time Pro Bowler and 11-year vet Derek Carr announced his retirement after lengthy discussions with his family and medical professionals, which was over a shoulder injury that could have kept him out for this next season. Ultimately, Carr decided to retire, leaving $30 million on the table, Billy. Uh, this now gives Nola some cap flexibility. However, Carr did keep his $10 million roster or signing bonus, so I mean, it was I guess it worked out for both parties in the end. I'm sure Derek Carr, over his career, he's made a good amount of money. He's the type of man too, or it seems anyway that like he wouldn't like really like that's not like the worst thing for him. You know what I mean? If a couple million here. Uh, kind of sad though, Billy. I was debating on wearing my Carr jersey today. Obviously I'm a Raider fan. Carr was my boy. Been through some highs and lows with him at the helm, right, of the Raiders. But uh, with him retiring though, Billy, what is next for the Saints though? What do you think they're gonna do?
Dude, that is such a tough question. You look at the quarterback room for the Saints right now. You got Jake Hayner. I'm not too familiar with his game. I think he was the third string guy last year. Spencer Rattler and Tyler Sow, who they just drafted this year. Some of the reports that I have been seeing is that Tyler Sow is the favorite thus far to be that starting quarterback. Obviously, Spencer Rattler does have some playing time and some experience in games. Didn't perform, I'm sure, to the ability that the Saints were hoping for, and that's probably the reason why they drafted another quarterback. I don't necessarily know. I'm sure the Saints are a little torn right now. I think they're also probably a little bit pissed off. It's like, hey, dude, you couldn't have made this decision before the draft. Like, we couldn't have couldn't have gotten a first round quarterback to kind of help come in. They could have got a Shador. They could have gotten some of these other guys that are, high ranked, or they're 4 or 5 stars or whatever they were going into college and now exiting the draft. So I'm sure the Saints are kind of kicking themselves a little bit in that sense of not taking a quarterback a little bit higher in the draft.
No, that's a great point, and that's exactly like they're, leading up to the draft, reports indicated that it was the Giants and the Saints who had the most interest, right? Or who were at least
Right. Or the
attending his workouts and stuff the most often, and then ultimately they neither one of them drafted him. So uh, hindsight 2020, obviously, but yeah, this does leave the Saints in a weird spot, quarterback wise. Um, but with that cap flexibility, excuse me, they could perhaps maybe go out there and get a quarterback. At the moment, who's really out there? I guess Aaron Rodgers. That's like,
Yeah,
or
that's even still up in the air.
yeah, exactly. Like, who knows, really? Possibly. I really don't see Atlanta helping a division rival, with their Kirk Cousins. Do they trade for Kirk Cousins? But Kirk Cousins is owed a lot of money still, so the Falcons, I'm sure, would want them to take on a majority of that contract. And who's ever trading for Kirk Cousins, they're probably like, nah, man. Like either like you take on the contract, or we're giving you like fifth, sixth round, seventh round pick, like nothing even
True.
remotely close to like value wise. You know what I mean?
Right. 100%.
But I mean, there's there's really no one else, Billy, that comes to mind quarterback wise at the Saints to go, unless they stay in house with Rattler, or they get with the or they roll with their quarterback this year, South.
Yeah, I don't know. That's I don't know, man. There's a lot of moving pieces that are going on in that organization right now, and dude, I don't know where they're at. And I'm like I said, I'm sure they're truly kicking themselves not for taking a
Hmm.
first round or a second round quarterback. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, that's a toughie, dude.
Big time. So we'll see what happens there in NOLA, folks. Moving on, the latest from the MLB regular season, and which teams and or players that are off to tremendous starts through the first 40 games of the season. Billy, is there any players or teams that you wanted to highlight before I throw out who I have?
Obviously, first person that comes to mind is Aaron Judge. The dude is absolutely having a season thus far. Um, I think he's going to be the front runner for the Triple Crown. I think he's on track to do so. The dude's batting like 350, hitting jacks per usual, but he's also finding solid contact this year where he's finding a little bit more singles, doubles. And he hasn't been striking out as much. I saw that he was down, I think it was like almost 15% from where he was at last year in his first 40 games in strikeouts. So love to see he's putting the ball in play more.
Yeah, Judge is hitting over 400, folks. For this guy being known as a power hitter, right, Billy, for
Yeah,
like
his whole career, yeah.
majority of his career, right? So obviously the AL home run king, right? 62 home runs, multiple seasons of 50 plus home runs. This guy's hitting 400. 400, Billy.
It's almost unfathomable, dude. Like I was like I didn't want to say the exact number, but I was like last time I looked is when I was in Paris, and it was he was at batting like 380, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's doing it. Like
Yes.
right now, he's almost on like Barry Bonds level stuff, where when he's stepping into the box, maybe not quite Barry Bonds. That guy's absolutely maybe a different beast and different animal in this point in time, but like you were saying, for him, okay,
Hey, I mean, sorry to interrupt you there, Billy, but if we look numbers wise, this guy, they're not off, or they're he's replicating Bond's
yeah.
numbers.
I mean, comparable for sure. Like to say that they're the exact same person or on the same level, crazy to say, but the trajectory is there. I think he's the closest thing we've seen to it since that era of baseball.
Hmm.
Um, so I obviously I'm a Mets fan. I got to give props where props due. Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball right now, by far.
Yeah, definitely. And Billy, last year when he, en route to winning his MVP, I said Aaron Judge, and this is somewhere on my Twitter page, somewhere in my tweets. I was on record saying Aaron Judge is the best right-handed hitter since Albert Pujols or Miguel Cabrera.
I'll stand on that. That checks out.
I mean, when you think about it, right? Both those guys, 500 home runs, right? Or at Miguel, I don't know if Miguel got to 500. Pujols definitely. Miguel was at 400 some, right? But Triple Crown winners, like we were saying, uh, got it done in the postseason when it mattered, right? Pujols, just hit to all parts of the ballpark, hit the home run, get you RBIs, 120 plus a year. And for how good of hitters those guys are, they're both 3,000 hits, mind you, right? Both of them have multiple seasons hitting 300. Aaron Judge, like we were saying, folks, is currently hitting 400. And this, we're over 40 games into the year, and he's hitting 400.
414 to be exact.
Yes, he was hitting 409, and his batting average went up. Like, excuse me, the other night he had a four-hit game. Like, obviously I'm biased and a Yankee fan, but like as a baseball fan, like what this guy is doing, right, Billy?
It's unreal. It's
Unreal,
unbelievable.
especially in today's game, right, with the amount of pitchers throwing 100 miles an hour, like how filthy their off speed and their curveballs are, their breaking stuff, like, and for average to not be valued as it once was, like we were saying, Billy, in previous episodes, you see guys hitting way under 220. This
Yep.
guy's hitting 400.
Yeah. And like it almost doesn't make sense. It truly doesn't.
Exactly. And
It's crazy.
I think though, so obviously everything that we just said about Judge rightfully deserved. The person I have, Billy, that needs to be mentioned is his teammate. Again, obviously, folks, I'm biased, but again, what he's doing though, like what you've seen that he's done and the type of player that he's been in the past, Trent Grisham for the New York Yankees, there in center field. This guy currently has 12 home runs, which is, has him tied for fifth right now amongst all MLB players. This guy's OPS is over 1,000, Billy. Like this guy is crushing the ball, and they did a breakdown on him the other day. He has that like Chase Utley like half swing,
Ugh,
and he's just crushing it. You know what I mean? Like for him primarily being known as a defensive player for the majority of his career. I mean, this guy won a Gold Glove if I'm not mistaken in San Diego,
he did.
and last year he couldn't even get on the field. He was the fourth or the fifth option in the outfield platoon for the Yankees, right? And then now with Soto gone, Verdugo obviously gone too for the Yankees. Someone needed to play. They still were unsure about Dominguez. He's starting to finally come around, but Grisham, off to the start that he has, like Boone has no choice but to keep this guy in the lineup. You know what I mean?
100%. Like, and honestly, I'll give another little shout out to the Yankees here. You also got Goldie batting damn near 350 as well. And having those three dudes in the lineup, you're gonna score like 2 to 3 runs a game by those 2 to 3 guys alone. Like it truly is
Yeah.
how it is.
I remember texting me, I was like, Goldie just freaking hit like another like two RBIs. You know what I mean? I was like it's insane, right? And for him being an older first baseman, like, and still having this type of production that he's having thus far, shout out to the Yankees. Another player I'll give shout out to, or want to give a shout out to, over in the NL is Kyle Schwarber for the Phillies. This guy is hitting some nukes, folks. He has 14 home runs, which is second amongst all MLB players. And he is really more or less the only one doing so on the Phillies at the moment, Billy. He has seven more than the next closest teammate, which is Bryce Harper, who has seven. And Bryce Harper is known, widely as one of the top players too in the game.
100%.
And Schwarber's doubled him from a home run standpoint.
Schwarber's got to be one of the most outlier players in the
An anomaly,
MLB.
right?
Dude, it's the craziest thing. There was a year, I think it was 1 or 2 years ago. The dude had, I want to say it was like within whatever part of the season, he had like 100 hits and only like 11 singles, and then the rest were doubles and like basically home runs. And it was like, what
Yeah.
is going on, dude? It's like you either you strike out or you hit a bomb. Like it's the craziest thing. But I mean, he is good for 30 to 40 bombs a year consistently. Like, so you kind of have to put him in a lineup. He's going to get a damn near 100 RBIs for you every year. Sometimes his average might look like a 230 or 240, but he brings the house, dude. He brings that wallop with that stick.
And the crazy part too, Billy, about Schwarber, like, so the Phillies know that, so they're like, yeah, this dude is like good for a home run ever, so however many at bats, right? This dude hits like lead off or hits in the like 2 or 3 hole. Like he's getting those extra at bats a game because they know like, hey, this guy might go yard.
He'll run into one.
Exactly. So like they don't even like for him hitting leadoff and him having such a low batting average at some points in his career, right? I think now, like if I'm not mistaken, he's hitting like 258, 268 at the moment.
I can pull it up pretty quick. He is 268 right now is what he's batting.
Hey, yeah, see, so 268, not bad, right? For a guy that's hitting 14 home runs this far, like you'll take that.
I'll take that every day. Like, and he's truly one of those guys that's like, you see it on it's like, would you rather choose option A or option B? And it's like a career 300 hitter, you win a World Series, you're an MVP, or it's like you make $50 million a year, you hit 30 $40, 40 bombs a year, but you bat 235 and you never win a World Series. You're like, I might take option B. That's what gets you paid.
Yeah, and they just throw him in left field. You know what I mean?
For no reason.
They're like I mean, I think it's fair to say that he's not an above average defender, right? Like I think that's fair to say, right?
Agree. I would agree.
Yeah, and the Phillies are completely fine with it because, like we said, he hits those 40 bombs a year.
I mean, and it'll hit him 485 feet with like 119 off the bat. You're like, all right, that's gonna play. That's gonna play.
Well, definitely will play. And the Philly faithful, they're dedicated to say the least.
They
So
are dedicated. They are
some of
dedicated.
those bombs that he hits, like they just go nuts.
It just they're rising out of the stadium as they leave the ballpark too. Like you're like, dude, that thing was still going up as it went out. It was.
Yeah, I can only imagine that atmosphere, honestly. Like being there, like live.
I couldn't imagine. Like obviously, I think that's like something that you truly have to witness in person to truly fathom how
Hmm.
how crazy it is.
Yeah, definitely.
But I did want to give one last shout out, player wise.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Another NL player. Um, wow, it could be a little controversial, but I think he's having it. But Corbin Carroll is actually tearing it up. He's batting 282 right now. I think he's got 13 jacks. I think that puts him at second or third or fourth in terms of overall home runs. 30 RBIs and stolen bags. He's third.
Yeah,
So, I mean, the dude's still so young. I think he's 23, maybe 25, like 23 to 25. I think he fits within that range. Um,
yeah.
Great defensive player as well. Like everybody likes to see him play the outfield. I think he bounces around from right field to center field here and there. I think he's a guy who brings a lot of that energy, and I think he's something that's kind of carrying the Diamondbacks along because the Diamondbacks are getting pretty hot right now, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they are. And Corbin Carroll is I think, a person that needs to be under consideration for Team USA. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
Like,
The only person I've seen committed thus far I saw Skeens was like yesterday or the day before that he committed. But you're right. Go ahead.
yeah, Judge and Skeen's the only two announced thus far. But like when you think of like American outfielders, right? Obviously, Judge is going to be there in right field. Uh, Center field, I mean, there's uh, was it Jackson Merrill from the Padres? You got Corbin Carroll there in San Diego. Kyle Tucker, he's more so the corners though.
Right.
Kyle Tucker, but hey, an outfield of those four. outfield platoon of those four. Shoot.
All right, and then I want a little topic, a little finishing topic for a bit MLB here. What's going on in Detroit? What is in the
The
water there?
Tigers, huh?
They are coming out playing so well. I'm looking at their record right now. They're 27-15, competing with maybe the best record in the MLB by the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Yankees are up there as well. It's refreshing to see. Don't get me wrong. I think the AL Century has a lot. The AL Central has a lot of work to do, but the Tigers have been notoriously bad for the past two seasons. What do you think's going on?
Well, so they're building on their success from last year when they made the playoffs,
Right.
wild card, right? And so they got Skubal, reigning Cy Young, great pitcher. They added a few pieces. They got Gleyber Torres in free agency. Yankees did not uh, re-sign him. I was completely fine with that. I was I was off the Gleyber train. I know a handful of New Yorkers were as well, like New York fans. But he himself is having a great year for Detroit. He's having a bounce back year. I think he's hitting 300 himself, which is all I wanted in the Yankees uniform. I was like, you know what I mean, Billy? But anywho, I think too another reason for Detroit's success is the emergence finally from Spencer Torkelson, their former number one pick. And he was the guy that was brought in to replace Miggy.
Yep.
You know, Miggy was on his way out. Detroit had the number one overall pick, and they picked Torkelson out of Arizona State, first baseman, who had a monster collegiate season, and he struggled, the first 4 years of his career. Uh, had a decent year last year, finally was able to put some things together. He finally figured some things out. It's a hard adjustment, I'm sure, going, from college to the major league level. Especially number one pick, you're going to play every day immediately. You know what I mean, Billy? But he's finally, putting some things together. He's producing. He's finally contributing from an RBI standpoint. He's still a viable threat, you know, home run wise. But yeah, Detroit, man, they're putting things together right now. And even with, you know, that massive contract that they signed Javi Baez, uh, he kind of just like goes under the radar, kind of, right? Now, it
I
seems
just
like.
looked. He's batting 313 with 3 home runs and 21 RBIs right now. Like I'll
Yeah,
take
like under the radar, huh? Yeah.
I'll take that in my lineup.
Shout out to him for hitting 312 because this guy, talk about swing and miss, right? He has some of the nastiest looking strikeouts that I've seen. Like,
Where he's truly 10 feet ahead of a curveball,
yeah,
fully
he's
extended, finished swing
hmm
as the ball is crossing the plate. Like there's been some bad ones. There's been like 3 historically bad swings by Javi B.
no, definitely. I mean, and it's like all predetermined swings. He's like, I don't give
It's gonna
like
be a fastball.
what ball, like what pitch this is. Like, you know what I mean? He's swinging. Like, it's insane, dude. Some
Wild.
of this hacks he takes, but. I mean, you're a $300 million player, a $200 million player, right, Bill? But yeah, shout out to Detroit. They're doing good right now. Another team central wise, this time it's in the NL. The Cardinals tearing it up currently right now. They have won 9 consecutive games and they are actually 9-1 in their last 10, Billy. So shout out to the Cards.
Hey, they're doing well too. I want to. It's nice to see them kind of turn around as well. Like some of these other, like they're one of the ever since they traded Arenado away, since they traded Goldie away. They're a team that's been a little bit on the fritz. So it's nice to see them kind of turn things around.
It'll be interesting if they do trade Arnold. They have yet to trade him, Billy. Sorry, I don't want to.
It's coming. I have a feeling it's coming down the line. I think he's
Yeah,
somebody that he's on maybe the tail end of his
timeline wise, right?
career.
Yeah.
Tail end of his career. He's probably got a 3, 4, maybe 5 years left.
hmm
But obviously defensive, he's still solid there. But sometimes he can just be so hit or miss with the stick.
Definitely. But yeah, they're currently on a tear. They're only one game back of the Chicago Cubs. Chicago is 24 and 18. The Cardinals are 23 and 19. Um, so yeah, they're on a tear currently. That's really all I have, Billy, MLB wise, player and team wise.
Yep, I'm good.
Perfect. So that's all we have for today, folks. We talked about the NBA draft lottery, the results, and the possible conspiracy going on there with the Mavs getting the number one pick. Billy likes to put his tinfoil hat on there. uh, we also discussed the second round matchups of the ongoing playoffs, where they stand currently. We also recapped UFC 315, which was from Montreal, Canada. JDM defeated Bilal Muhammad in the welterweight division and new champion. Over on the women's side, Valentina Shevchenko won via unanimous decision to secure her 10th title fight victory. Congratulations to her. Derek Carr has retired from football. Sad day for the Carr fans out there. I'll put myself in that category. Um, should have worn my car jersey, huh, Billy? Should have went all out for the.
At
Yup,
least
should
I
have
clip it
committed.
up behind you in the background.
Yeah, I just committed to the bit. I wore the hat today, the Raider hat. But and then over in the MLB, some players off to great starts. Kyle Schwarber hitting home runs at a tremendous rate currently. Trent Grisham out of nowhere, uh, should be a lock for an all-star if we're being honest here. He is crushing the ball. The Cardinals over in the NL doing great things. The Tigers were doing great things. And Aaron Judge, who is probably on his way to another MVP, right, Billy?
MVP and possibly a triple crown, baby.
Yeah, definitely. So let us know what your thoughts and comments are, folks. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms. You can follow me on X at MattMTZ108. Billy, for the folks, where can they find you?
Give me at Billy the Thrill on Instagram and at Thrilly the Bill on X.
Perfect. Make sure to subscribe, folks. Turn on the notification bell for alerts. I'm Matt Martinez. That's Billy Ryan. This is the Matt Gets It podcast. We'll see you next time.